Mine is Peter Anthony, and my wife and I, Sue, and I have taken on the joy of hosting an international Letterheads, which is a loose fraternity of people who are signwriters or people who love typography, brush-based, paint-based signage. And we've got 14 countries. We've got Finland, Australia, all the UK-based countries, Northern Ireland's coming tomorrow, what have you, and New Zealanders, Australians, and they've all come. We've got one or two guys who have come. They arrived yesterday and they're flying back to Oz on Monday and Tuesday. That is the sort of dedication you get and the vibe.
So tell us about Letterheads.
Well,
what is it? How did it start?
Letterheads is anarchy in action. There's no secretary, or you don't pay monthly dues or anything like that. What happened in 1976, a group of apprentices in America who went to college together sort of gathered after work and said, well, how do you do this technique? How do you do that technique? They said, well, why don't you come around my workshop? And it grew from there, and then they started having huge, and now you can go to some where there's 300-400 people. And there's an offshoot called Wall Dogs, where they'll go to a town in the middle of nowhere in America where the economy is slid, and they'll have a trust fund over a couple of years, and they'll get these group of maybe 40 to 50 muralists, and they'll pay 4 or 5 full-on murals in one long weekend. It's a offshoot of Letterheads. So Letterheads, the last one was down in Cornwall last May, and on the back of that we said, let's do it. So it's taken it's a little bit earlier than that, but about 18 months to get it together, booking food, venues and all the other paraphernalia, and people come for 3 days and just do their day job.
And so what will we see happening at these easels tomorrow? What will be going on?
For instance, we've got this material here, which is basically aluminium composite. We've got 88 of those, and we'll distribute those as blue, black, yellow and white. And we'll just put those around for people to use ad hoc with their own inspiration. Some people would come panels almost finished. Some will have projects completely finished on the theme of a day at the races. Or Letterheads 2024, or based around Epsom, which is famous for a lot of things. And we don't know what's going to happen. But we've got a running order, and the running order is it's basically it's about the basics of signwriting. Now it's quite esoteric, it's quite specific, and a lot of people say, well, what's it all about? You learn the very basics. There's letter forms you have to learn to get under your skin in your DNA to be a successful signer. And for what it's worth, it's block lettering and Roman lettering. Okay. And once you get those under your belt, you'll probably use those fonts on every job you do in some derivative of those fonts. And there's loads of different tricks and colours and shades and all the rest. But these are the basics. And like with this particular meeting, there was a lot of newbies, as we call them, people who are new to the trade. And they're coming for the first time, they're nervous, they're apprehensive, they haven't got the right brush, all these really good people there. And we try to say, look, we're all students, we're all learning. And there's guys, some of the best in the world, MBEs are going to be here tomorrow. And they are as nervous as other people because no one knows everything. And it's a really respectful, generous community. Fantastic.
So tell us about your own signwriting journey or letterhead journey. Did you learn it? Is it your profession?
It is my profession. Like it's for what it's worth. Like my wife, I'll just reflect on how lucky my wife and I are. My wife, when she was 5 years old, said to her mother, "I want to be a nurse," and she was. Cardiothoracic, open heart surgery, all that sort of stuff. When I was 10, I said to my mum, after seeing this signwriter write the back of a bus in the suburb of Sydney, I want to do that. And 6 years later, I started an apprenticeship. And I did my apprenticeship for 4 years. I started travelling around Australia, went to New Zealand, came over to Europe, worked in Austria and Sri Lanka and bits and pieces. And then my girlfriend came out to see me in Australia, and we haven't been apart for 40 years. And so we came here in 1984, started up our sign company, and basically brought up 2 boys, have a house, dog, cat, no mortgage anymore. That's very good.
Congratulations.
But and that's basically the story. But it's meeting up with people like-minded, really.
And is is it a dying thing, sign writing,
Interesting.
or is it?
It is now
back
in
on
the
up?
UK. It is in a renaissance, and I can use that word because we've got, like, I would say 8 years ago you couldn't give away hand lettering, which is the generic term, because you had computers come in, vinyl letters, sticky letters, digital, and you had people who were. Now I know a guy who was made redundant from Raw Plug UK as a sales director, bought a machine. His wife did the books, and he went to the NHS. He was a salesman, and he sold really bad signs to the NHS. Spelling mistakes, wrong materials, but he is now a very, very successful company. But there's no art in it. There's no artistry. There's no craft. And so what's happened through the computer revolution, I'd say from 83 to probably 2007-8, for hand letterers. A lot of people went out of business, they changed, they became digital people. But now what's happened in my children's generation, 35, 40, we've got guys who are coming here 16 years old, first gigs. And they want the humanity of creating something from nothing. And you see people like, this guy here has a different style to me. That guy has a different style to me. And it's about creating, we're artists really. And when you get a good client who says, you know what you're doing, go for it.
Fantastic. Great. That's really good. Lovely. Thanks, Pete.
I'm Neil Melliot. I'm a sign writer.
And is that your profession, Neil?
Absolutely.
That's what you do?
Yeah, that's what I do day in, day out. Yeah.
Okay. And so what brings you here? What is this weekend all about?
Well, Pete made me come. We're old friends, all sign writers. And I mean, we all got different disciplines. We all end up in different disciplines. Come on in, Dave. This is David. He's another sign writer.
Excellent. We'll get him in a minute.
And we essentially, Pete's. We start. The UK Letterheads started years and years and years ago, where it was essentially quite a lot of us on our own sort of got together, and somehow or other it developed into something. There's a Letterheads sort of infrastructure in the States, and the same sort of things happened here over the last 30 plus years. So very loose arrangement, and we occasionally get together, and somebody usually takes on the mantle, and Peter's done that this weekend. So even before the internet, you had a lot of people flying around the world. On the odd occasion, they'd hear about an event somewhere in America or Japan or wherever, and you'd end up with a handful of people on a plane to there. So that's what's happened here. You've now got a gathering of sign writers, gilders, pinstripers and stuff. Anybody who's arty with a brush, probably more to do with the lettering side of things on the whole, are coming here for this weekend.
And are you going to be learning new things this weekend? Are you going to be teaching new things?
I think a bit of everything. I mean, some of us sort of more senior lot will probably end up teaching. But there's no way you go away from an event like this without learning something. We always learn something, you know. I mean, I'm a pretty decent pinstriper. My Roman could always improve, and you know, you'll learn something like that off of David. So, you know, we all do it probably because we still like it to some extent. So
yeah. And is it also about hoping to pass techniques on to new generations?
Yeah, I mean, again, we've all got a living to earn, but by the same token, you do see youngsters coming along, and I think that 20 years ago people didn't really want sign writers because you had vinyl machines and vinyl lettering and that sort of thing. Within Instagram and the media, social media, there's a whole load of youngsters now who you can see are really keen to learn, and we've all had younger apprentices and they all do quite well. But there's a real appetite for it again, so it's quite encouraging to see a few come along. So we do get. I mean, there's one lad in particular who's just the son of somebody I've worked with. He's coming along this weekend. I persuaded him to come. He doesn't really know why he's coming, but I think after this weekend he'll realise why it was probably a really beneficial weekend. I hope so anyway, you know.
Brilliant.
And we're all quite passionate about it. I mean, a bit jaded sometimes, but I think we're all quite passionate, you know.
So we're gonna come and catch up with you at various points over the weekend and see what you're all doing.
You'll see all sorts downstairs. You'll see all sorts of free fall. I think there's paint and brushes, and people are just going to do what they want or what they fancy. Some people will probably bring projects they've been working on before the weekend. Okay. Some people will start from scratch. Up here, I think you're going to see lecturing, and then people honing skills. Some people who won't have any skills whatsoever. You know, so. it's always interesting.
Great. Well, we'll look forward to checking your progress.
Yeah, cool. Well, we're all looking forward to it. I mean, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen?
How far have you come today? Are you?
I'm local, so this one's a good one for me.
Is that so? Why did it end up in Epsom? Is that just?
Well, because Pete's based in Ewell, so he knows the area well.
Okay, and because it was his turn.
Yeah, I mean, what a place! You know, I mean, I've lived near Croydon way all my life, and to come here and you realise that you've got a place like this on our doorstep.
Yeah,
I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
you know,
no, we are.
So we're really lucky.
Yeah.
Well, and then they did the same thing 12 months later, and that there was a few more people, and then a few more people. And they decided to do one in the UK, which was about 20 years later, which I went to. I was really fortunate I went to the first one, and there was only 17 of us there. And then it's just evolved, and it's worldwide now, and it's become such a good thing, because it really, I mean, if other crafts could have done this, or if they do now, it's become massively beneficial, and we just end up making all our best friends and everything.
Brilliant.
Well, the artist part, you know, have you met Art? You would have met Artie.
Artie Schilling, yeah.
Well, there's this guy Artie, he was an old friend. He came, I met him at the Ashes one.
Yeah, I can remember him.
Yeah, a lovely guy, and he's a dear friend now. And he came over here like 25 years ago.
So he's American
guy from South Carolina. Yeah, he's a Jersey guy, but anyway, he did this little do in South Carolina with about 20 people locally. Then he outgrew it, and he's a hot rodder and a little racer like me, and he moved it up to a big car shop in New York State. And he asked me to come over, and I went over there a bit daunted. And he ended up with like 80 or 90 painters, all, and they had a cattle auctioneer there, and we were painting stuff for charity for the weekend, just having a laugh, painting stuff, and then they are auctioning it. And you ended up with this, again, people coming from absolutely all over the country, raising a load of money for all the local charities. Same as this sort of thing. You know what it does for a local. It piques interest locally. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing happens over and over again, doesn't it? All over the place now, like the Helsinki and stuff.
Yeah, it's really is a good thing, and
brilliant.
A lot of good come to it. And I mean, I suppose the bottom line is, you know, we're not just a novelty trade or whatever. But it's a serious profession, signwriting. And it's probably changed around a lot because the pubs, the shops on the high street, the big shops like Harrods and Horton and Mason and whatever, have decided, you know what, I don't think we want plastic signs anymore. Let's go back to how they were hand painted.
Yeah.
So because they've done that and the pubs have done that, there's become a huge interest in signwriting. So there's more and more people wanting. People are coming on workshops to learn how to do this, and it's. You know, it's an absolute proper job. I mean, all I do are hand-painted signs. I've done that for 36 years. There's no stick-on letters, and keep extremely busy.
Brilliant.
So it really is good, and it's just, and you know, this is like a busman's holiday, isn't it? Coming away and just having
How
fun.
do you all communicate, bearing in mind the size of the world? Do you have a trade association or?
Well, it's known as the Letterheads. It's not a paid trade association, and social media these days as well.
And text. I mean, really, I'm not on Facebook.
No, you're not.
But I'll get a text from Pete or somebody saying, "Oh, you're still coming or whatever."
Yeah.
Put the date aside.
It's just become a small world, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now?
I mean, Pekka in Finland, he'll give me the occasional text or a little thing on Instagram or whatever. I mean, it doesn't take much to stay in touch with you. I mean, I don't speak to you hardly ever, do I?
No.
We're proper old friends.
Brilliant. Well, we will be catching up with you at various points.
Yeah, well, enjoy the weekend.
Yeah,
I think it'll be entertaining.
Watching your progress. That would be great.